The AI race might have just hit its messiest chapter yet. Industry signals, the way these companies are building out infrastructure, the lawsuits piling up, put it together, and OpenAI looks like it's working on something bigger than most people are picturing. Not another chatbot, not another image generator. A video model trained on the visual history of the internet itself. And Sora is sitting right in the middle of it. When OpenAI first showed off Sora, people couldn't quite believe it. The clips had real lighting, convincing motion, environments that held together, camera moves that felt like an actual camera. But here's what a lot of folks skipped right past. Sora wasn't just stitching together clips, it was modeling reality. OpenAI's own word for these things was world simulators. That phrase is worth sitting with for a second. A world simulator doesn't memorize a bunch of pretty pictures. It learns how the world actually behaves. Physics, the way people move, how objects bump into each other, how light falls, timing, the small stuff. And to teach a system all of that, you need something that's genuinely hard to get your hands on, legally, ethically, and before your competitors do. You need a colossal pile of video that basically amounts to a record of human civilization, which brings us to YouTube. It's the biggest video archive the species has ever assembled. Billions of uploads, decades of people just living. Languages, cultures, arguments, road trips, cooking, sports, breakups, buildings going up, disasters, how-to videos, human life, more or less. So the math gets pretty obvious. If OpenAI wants Sora 2 to run away with generative video, it can't lean on a handful of small licensed datasets forever. It needs scale, a staggering amount of it. Because whoever controls the best visual training data may end up controlling the future of synthetic media. That's where the trouble starts. The last year or so, the AI world has been buried in lawsuits and copyright fights over how training data gets collected. Publishers, artists, photographers, writers, coders, and lately, video creators too. The courts are still trying to draw a line between fair use and industrial-scale data extraction. And while the judges work it out, the AI race isn't politely waiting around. It's speeding up. That's the part people miss. The companies building this stuff seem to have decided that speed beats legal clarity, because once a model gets good enough, you can't really claw that advantage back. So there's a huge incentive to swallow as much data as possible before the regulators show up in force. And honestly, what Sora can already do hints that OpenAI is working at a scale way past anything we can see publicly. Think about what these video models are actually trying to crack. Believable physics, the tiny twitches in a human face, objects that stay put, motion that doesn't fall apart, understanding a scene from more than one angle. Systems get dramatically better at all of that the more real-world footage they see. And there is no bigger pile of real-world footage on Earth than YouTube. Now, to be fair, there's no public proof OpenAI has literally vacuumed up every YouTube video. None. But the direction the whole industry is heading is hard to miss. The race is increasingly about grabbing world-scale data of every kind: text, images, audio, video. And whoever ends up with the deepest world model may end up controlling the future of digital media. That's why the infrastructure story matters as much as it does. OpenAI is pushing hard on GPU clusters, data centers, and power supply all at once. That only makes sense if you're bracing for an enormous wave of multimodal demand. Video is brutally expensive compared to text. Every single frame is a mountain of information. And Sora-style systems aren't just painting one picture, they're predicting motion across time. That eats compute, a frightening amount of it. Which is why the industry suddenly seems obsessed with hyperscale build-outs, power grids, cooling, and the NVIDIA supply chain. The fight for generative video could turn into one of the most compute-hungry contests tech has ever seen. There's one more reason YouTube-style data would be gold: emotion. The internet is stuffed with billions of genuine human reactions. Vlogs, interviews, family moments, travel footage, people at public events. None of it sterile stock footage. Real human behavior. And the more lifelike AI video gets, the more those patterns are worth. Which leaves us with an uncomfortable thought. The future of synthetic media may be getting trained, right now, on the accumulated visual memory of humanity. And once a model gets advanced enough, catching up to it becomes brutally hard. Because this isn't only an algorithm story, it's a data story, a data moat. The company with the deepest training corpus could end up with a lead nobody can close. On realism, on motion, on understanding a space, on faking emotion convincingly. That's why Google, Meta, OpenAI, NVIDIA, all of them, are sprinting toward bigger and bigger multimodal systems. It's becoming an arms race over who gets to model reality, and the legal system may just be too slow to do anything about it. Copyright law was never written for machines that can absorb statistical patterns from billions of hours of footage, so courts are stuck answering questions nobody's ever had to answer. Can these systems legally train on copyrighted media? Does statistical learning even count as copying? What happens when AI output starts competing head-to-head with the very people whose work trained it? And the big one, what happens if these companies get too powerful before anybody answers? That might be the actual strategy here, running underneath all of it. Move faster than the regulators. Scale faster than anyone can enforce. Build something so woven into the economy that society can't realistically rip it back out. Because once AI video is baked into advertising, film, social media, gaming, corporate media, good luck reversing that. And for creators, the stakes are huge. If generative video gets realistic enough, whole industries are on the table. Stock footage, commercial production, marketing shops, background acting, animation, slices of cinematography, even parts of YouTube itself. There's a bitter irony in that. The platforms feeding these models may end up competing with the very systems their footage built. The internet, in a sense, training its own replacement. And the companies doing the building seem perfectly willing to eat a mountain of controversy to get to the front of the line first. Because in AI, first place may count for more than it should. The best model pulls in users. Users generate feedback. Feedback sharpens the model. The better model pulls in more investment. Round and round. It compounds. Winner take most. OpenAI gets this. Sam Altman keeps coming back to one word as the resource that defines this era. Not talent, not algorithms. Compute. Which means the firms with the deepest infrastructure, the biggest datasets, and the fastest iteration loops may end up running the information economy. The unsettling part is the speed. A few years back, believable AI video sounded like a fantasy. Now we're talking about world simulators that model reality. And if Sora 2 lands another big jump, the gap between recorded reality and synthetic reality could start closing faster than any of us are ready for. The question isn't really whether generative video reshapes media anymore. It's who ends up holding the systems that shape our synthetic future. Stay sharp. Jane Sterling, Sterling Intelligence.